Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers, Season 4, Episode 3, Heart of Nightfang Spire, and I totally was not just threatening to kill all of the characters right before we went live. This episode is, as I said, for some reason, the stream information did not save. Let's try that again. Maybe it did. On my screen, it's still showing a Call of Cthulhu game from last night, which you can check out on the YouTube channel tomorrow. There we go. This episode is titled Matron Eve, the Angeline. And in just a few moments, I will do a recap to bring everybody back up to speed, and you can see why, when you look at the overlay here, all of these characters are looking pretty worse for the wear. So real quick, we are going to talk about a couple of announcements. We've got an announcement that we've been talking about for quite some time. If you look down in the lower left-hand corner of the overlay, you'll see the logo there for Jasper's Game Day. Jasper's Game Day is, of course, an amazing organization that I am very pleased to have partnered with for well over a year now. Founded in West Michigan, my home state, by Fenway, the teen DM. The purpose of this organization is to raise awareness and for the prevention of suicide through tabletop gaming. They do a variety of cons and other online things that help out to raise money for them. And they use that money, all the money that is raised goes to fund things like suicide crisis phone numbers, like we'll be sharing in a little bit, to help fund crisis centers, which are organizations around the country that react to suicides. They go and help counsel gaming groups and students and family members. And they also use some of that money to train administration and teachers at schools, not only in how to deal with the aftermath of teen suicide, but how to recognize the warning signs and try to recognize these things ahead of time and prevent those kind of things from happening. So it's an incredible organization to be partnered with. They have grown immensely in the last couple years since the organization was founded. And I was trying to vamp while I find the link. I keep forgetting to share the direct link for the main account, because we are actively taking donations for Jasper's Game Week, which starts this Sunday. We did this last year. It's a week-long event. This year, it's a little bit bigger. It is a week-long event. We have 20 games, 4 games per day, from noon to 2 Eastern, 2 to 5, 5 to 8, and 8 to midnight. We have an incredible array of individuals from all over the gaming world, whether they are people that just love gaming and decided to buy a raffle ticket or participate in an auction for elite seats to a game run by Christopher Perkins, or they are people like Stefan Bacorny, the founder of Dwarven Forge. There are literally too many people for me to name right now. We have over 130 participants. If you head over to jaspersgameday.com right now, you can click through on their front page and you can see each day's schedule, who all of the game masters are, who all of the players are, and choose which games you want to fit into your schedule. Now, I know in most cases, next week, we're still, pretty much everybody's still doing the quarantining and social distancing. So a lot of people are going to be home still next week. So even if you just put us on in the background and listen, we're going to be giving away tons of prizes when we hit certain goals. We're just going to trigger them in the chat with giveaways that'll run for about 5 minutes, and you just type in a keyword, and then when the time's up, you might have won something. We've got digital books, tons of digital packs, digital gift cards to various organizations, and we've got some physical prizes from companies like Wormwood Gaming. There's somebody called Saving Throw Pillows, WizKids, did I say Wormwood? Wormwood, Talon and Claw, Axe and Shield, and I hesitate to say more because I know I'm leaving people out, but we have tons of stuff going on with that. And again, all of this is specifically to raise money for Jasper's Game Day so that they can distribute that money out throughout throughout all of these places that are in need. And there it is. I've been looking all over for this link. There, I'm dropping it in the chat now. That link right there will take you to the campaign direct donation link for the Tiltify, which is where we run it through. And donating now through that link will, when you donate at certain dollar amounts, you open up the possibility to do purchases and add-ons and things like that, for things like t-shirts and other stuff. But that also donation will move that meter towards our goal, which is for this year we've set a goal currently for $15,000, and we're very hopeful that with your help we'll be able to reach that, and completely. By the way, if we hit that goal along with what we've done ahead of the stream this year, it will be about 5 times what we raised last year at this time. We're already at almost 3 times what we raised last year, at least twice. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Lots of great games. If nothing else, there's 1 week with 20 D&D games happening back to back every day right here. 5 games a day, 4 games a day. And of course, next Thursday, at the end of the whole thing, putting a cap on the whole thing, is all of us right here. Dawnbringers will be back, and we're going to have a very special episode that I'm not going to tell you too much about. We're going to keep it a surprise until next week. So, what are you saying, V?
I want to play it now.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it next week. Yes, you can send me all of the energy drinks you want, Tamiko. Maybe I should add those to my Amazon wish list. Okay. So that's the Jasper's announcement. Of course, we've got the usual announcement. I'm going to keep it brief. Initiative Coffee Company. You can get some Metadata roast coffee by typing !coffee in the chat. That link lets you order some coffee from Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action. Every 12-ounce bag you buy, $3 of that goes directly to support Jasper's Game Day, and it's delicious coffee. Big thanks to D&D Beyond, who has granted us insider access, and that is why I run all of my D&D campaigns through D&D Beyond. You can mouse over this on Twitch right now and see everybody's hit points appear to be in the yellow or the red in some cases. I was not easy on them last week. Yeah, so there's that. The last 2 things I want to talk about is, one is if you look up above V and Dan's head, Cantriel and Drown, you will see some dice icons and a big old +100. That is our domain dice. That's what we call them. It is a way that you, the viewer, can participate in the stream. For a $5 tip or 500 bits, or when you subscribe, resubscribe, or we get rated, whatever it may be, along those lines, they will earn more of those domain dice, and it allows them to do things like re-roll a d20 and take a new result, force me to re-roll the die, all the way up to turning a hit into a super critical, which is a double max damage critical hit. So if you want to make that number go up even bigger, that's how the ways that you can contribute to that. If you forget the rules, it's in the scroll down below, or you can type !domain dice in the chat. And real quick, for Jaspers next week, domain dice will be in effect for all games, along with a new inspiration die. At certain dollar amounts, we will be awarding the game's domain dice. So be looking out for those next week. There will be a brand new, that counter is going to get reset to 0 at the beginning of the game next week. So we're going to hope to that you guys can get them some of those domain dice during that game. All right, last thing, and I always save it to last because it is the most important thing before we get started, and it's this. You matter. You are important. It can be tough the way things are right now. I know it can be rough. I've had a rough day myself, and I'm using this game as my therapy. Playing D&D with my friends is a major stress relief for me. But not everybody has that, and sometimes you can struggle, and you just need somebody that you can talk to. And that's why at any time during any visit to Mini Terrain Domain on Twitch here, it doesn't matter if we are live or not, you can type !help in the chat, as Jeremy has done, and you can bring up some phone numbers and text numbers and resources that are always available to you. They're also going by down below in the crawl. If you are in the United States, you can call the National Suicide Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. If you are in the armed forces or a veteran of the armed forces, you can press the number 1 after dialing that number and be connected with a military specialized counselor. If you prefer, you can text 741-741. If you are among our friends in Canada, then you can reach the crisis text line in Canada by texting the word connect for English or parley for French to 686-868, or you can call the Canada Suicide Prevention Services in French or English at 1-833-456-4566. If you are among our many friends from all around the world, you can go to opencounseling.com/suicide-hotlines, and there are resources, phone numbers, text numbers, and all of that available for whatever country you may live in. So please do not hesitate to use those resources. If you need help, please reach out to someone. And now, with that, we are going to play some Dungeons and Dragons. All right. Most recently, the Dawnbringers, having basically they hadn't really been kicked out per se, but they decided it was in their best interest to leave Saltmarsh behind. Saltmarsh and the Dawnbringers did not get along ultimately, and so they're continuing on in their quest, seeking out the things they need to do. In some cases, righting some wrongs, and in general, fighting against dark forces of evil. Most namely, the recently returned vampire Gulthias, who was in fact freed by the very actions of the Dawnbringers. Most notably by the paladin Griveth, who used the sword that he named Sir Brafford's Honor to destroy the Gulthias tree, which was in fact trapping the vampire Gulthias. As they were heading across the sea, they encountered a mysterious light that slammed into the water near them and turned into what appeared to be an island that was touched by the Feywild, an island that we call the Feywild. Exploring this island, the Dawnbringers went into its depths, discovering that the entire time they were moving through the forest, they were surrounded by dryads. They were following a young elven girl ultimately led to a clearing and a sort of a draw surrounded on three sides by cliffs, in which a nervous little satyr was painting magically with fairies what appeared to be the expeditions of the Dawnbringers, some of their more recent adventures, including a drawing that depicted the 6 of them under an array of brightly colored creatures, which they very shortly found themselves fighting against in a sort of a test. They fought against these creatures that were made of a mosaic of leaves. They fought against a chimera. They fought against a... What was the second thing you guys fought against? Oh yeah, the King of Feathers, a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. And finally, the wings began to burn, the leaves began to burn and take flight, and they fought against a phoenix. But
all 4 rounds.
Yes, all 3 of those, over 650 hit points worth of monsters in 4 rounds, were defeated. And yes, Cajun Kevin says a new painting, the Dawnbringers spanking a dinosaur. Specifically, Fig, having conjured Figby's hand, smacked the King of Feathers on his hiney as a combat maneuver. So that's how that went. But when that was done and the leaves fell to the ground in burning ash, the waterfall came rushing back into this draw, filling what was once the dry pond bed. And it began to rise in the form of a very large as in very tall woman, the water appearing to flow off of her in a form of in the form of a dress or flowing robes, seeming to continually flow down. And we return in this moment as she looks down at all of you Dawnbringers with the satyr, I forgot his name. I think it was Seban, something like that. But Ted probably wrote it down on a sheet that
Sabine, right?
Sabine. Thank you so much. It's
my notes haven't happened this season.
Ted, you were my fallback. I'm like flipping through my notes. I work from home now, so I have a lot more notes on my desk here. But anyway, I know I have it. Okay. I just needed to have some other stuff. But yes, the nervous satyr is standing atop this 30-foot high cliff and was clapping excitedly as the water came. And give you guys that domain die for the zombie files thing there, so we don't forget. And as the water rises up and this woman looks down at all of you, she towers 30, 40 feet high. And she says in a voice that sounds like the storm, "You have passed my test. I am the Matron Eve, the Angeline. Welcome, Dawnbringers." What do you do?
Yes, we have arrived, the Dawnbringers.
As you're doing that, Cantriel rolls over and she shoots an arrow just past the satyr's head as he's sitting there clapping his hands.
You see this as he suddenly ducks down. You see this cloud of fairies just sort of, and you see the full spectrum of colors begin to sort of rain down as whatever magical pigments they use for painting fall like a gentle rain. And now this satyr looks like he did a color run basically. he's coated in this pigment dust. And he disappears, and then he just keeps periodically peeking out, looking down on all of you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Talmud kind of leans over towards Thorgarn, where he's kind of coming out of his rage, kind of getting back to his feet. She's not made of leaves. Are we supposed to fight her? Is she next?
No, she says we passed the test. And why
Oh,
were we being
that's
tested?
good.
I kind of like transition the conversation.
Well, sure. I'm going to go sit over here.
What did you say, Thorgarn?
I told Talmud, no, we've passed the test. And then I look to her and say, why were we being tested?
To make sure that you have what it takes to survive what comes next.
So was there anything else you needed from us? Was there a monster in the mix?
You don't have a sister named
Always
Eldath, do you?
straight to the point. What was that, V?
You don't have a sister named Eldath, do you?
If only Eldath could be called my sister. No, I am Eldath's emissary.
Oh, lovely. Talk to that one.
And she'll point to Griveth.
But she sent me on behalf of all of you.
Trust me, he'll speak loud enough for all of us to hear.
Yes, I speak for all of them. I speak for the Dawnbringers.
No, that's not what I said, Griveth.
Cantriel, hold on. I'm talking.
No,
to
Cantriel,
talking to the Avatar
don't you
here,
dare
all right?
Cantriel me.
If I might be so bold to inquire, do you have a connection to the ship?
To the ship?
Yes, my ship.
Whatever would make you ask such a question?
It's called the Angeline.
Curiosity?
Coincidence?
Not everything is tied together in this world.
I did not assume as much, but considering how many layers seem to stack up so well with these adventures that we've been on, hopefully you did not find the question as an insult. I just was curious.
It is not an insult. If anything, I've always been flattered by Sylvain Aetherlock's need to name his vessel after me.
So there is a connection then.
Of course there is. You think it is by pure chance that you are here?
I take little things these days as chance.
Is this all to do with the vampire that they freed?
No, not we. He.
Hey.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
And all of you had a part in Gothias' return.
So this is penance? We're being made to pay for something that was done?
Penance, punishment.
You are not being punished. Why do you think you are being punished?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe our current state of condition?
And she'll signal to the fact that they're all pretty worn and torn from the past battle.
It's righting a wrong. It's not a punishment.
It's cleaning up your mess.
It's a
Personally, I prefer much more direct methods of discussing matters instead of all of this hooey.
It's a chance to prove ourselves.
Talmud,
Don't you
how
see
often
it?
do you want to discuss things? And I just point to your weapons.
Some of us discuss things differently than others, okay?
That's not a discussion.
I can call it what I'd like.
What would you have of us
Oh, a
for
rock
here?
and apple, but you're not going to eat it.
I've got to check something real
He
quick.
might.
1, 2, 3,
Well, he is that stubborn at times,
3.
but his teeth won't look as good.
He smiles.
You
I'm sure
missed a
several of them
spot.
are broken.
There's a little something right there.
Seconds.
Well, we know it wasn't spinach, you and you're not liking vegetables.
I'm telling you, vegetables are. We're in this mess because of vegetables. He chopped down the wrong vegetable, and now we're having to do all of this hooey.
I-
If it's not this hooey, it's going to be some kind of hooey.
Well, who he tends to find us anyways.
Okay. I'm going to roll some dice here.
That's usually a good sign.
12, 13,
It's probably for treasure.
17,
Okay, he just got up to 13. That does not
21.
count.
21, 24. I need to roll one again. Ooh, good 6. 30 plus 9. All of you, there's a sudden, you notice a more fierce splashing of these robes, this gown of water that the Matron Eve wears, as it seems to flow with more energy. And there's just a natural, just as happens with a waterfall, the water begins to spill out and splash all of you. You either get caught directly in a splash or you get caught in the mist. And all of you will take 39 points of healing.
I thought that was going to be damage.
I know.
Just tell us to shut up.
Yeah, because I was going to say that would
That's a weird way to-
that
that's
would
a
have
weird way to say
exactly
healing.
knocked Cantriel down.
As
You
she-
take
Cantriel
39
done.
points.
Done.
She
I would have still been
casts,
spinning.
she casts mass cure wounds upon all of you. 39
Ooh.
39 total points of healing.
Eldath be praised, we are cleansed.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to speak to you about why I chose to see you in this way. Why I've come to you now. And why I do not command, but I beseech you to help.
I'm sorry, you're going to ask nicely?
Do you find this form intimidating? As she
No, I find
towers
it refreshing.
40 feet over you, 50 feet over you.
That's not something we're used to having.
I worry.
This is quite placid.
I'm sorry, did you say pleasant or placid?
Placid.
Placid with a P.
Placid. Yes, not flaccid.
Just make sure I get the tone right here. The region to which you are heading was once, long ago, a region that I called home, high in the mountains, watching over for leagues in every direction. And then the vampire Gothias came and claimed the Nightfang Spire, and the cultists rose, filling all of the area with the evilness of a Chardalon. And I was driven from the region. I cannot exist alongside that much evil. And then, some time ago, Gothias was imprisoned in a different chasm far away. The cultists faded away, and some of the evil began to drain. And I thought perhaps I could return. And I tried to do so. And I was cast out violently by the evil. as Gothias had returned once again. And that is when you found me careening towards the sea and this island. You are already on your way to deal with the threat of Gothias and the evil that resides there, yes?
We are, yes. The giants are apparently involved as well.
The giants have nothing to do with Gothias, of this I'm certain, but Ashardalon. The dragons and the giants famously do not get along. The cloud giants in the north have been plotting something. But I need you to succeed in what you are doing. Not just to remove Gothias, but to aid you in what will ultimately be a battle against Ashardalon himself, and whatever it is that he has become. In cleansing the region of Gothias and the Nightfang Spire, you will allow me to return to my place in the mountains and influence all of the region. And perhaps some good will return. I tested you because I had only heard of your deeds. The name Dawnbringers has been whispered on the wind, and has been traveling across the very sea. It whispers through the trees and the valleys of Faerun. It is spoken in harsh tones in Keeland, I hear, specifically in Saltmarsh. But you should know, that is not a taint on your image at all. If anything, it is on them.
Does the wind usually whisper a price range along with our name, by chance?
You seek earthly treasures?
The earthlier the better, honestly.
Talmud, the stuff in the ship's not
What?
enough for you right now?
Is it ever enough, cousin? I mean, honestly.
There was a time I saw some of what you were saying, but comes a point, man, that we have to look beyond.
Think of all that we can do for Kundrakar. We could outfit ourselves with an army. They'd never have to worry again about being overrun.
But part of that worry makes us who we are. If you just hand our kin exactly what they're looking for, you make them docile.
Okay, then we keep it all for ourselves. Fine, you've convinced me.
You have to balance it.
You carry half, I carry half. It's fine.
Please go on, my lady.
Be careful, dwarf. With treasures that you do not dig from the earth yourself, you may always find that somebody has their hands reaching for that. And Kundrakar, perhaps it will do you some good to know that if I can be returned to my place in the mountains, my influence stretches all across the Desseran Valley, reaching to the east, to the west, to the north and the south. It touches Blazingdale and Oakhurst. I will provide you a direct route to the Nightfang Spire. You can rest here safely until you are ready to go on. I will, of course, answer any further questions you might have.
If you are as dead set against Gulthias as we are, is there any information that you have about this spire that might aid us in our quest? Beyond, having to fight a vampire.
It is more than having to fight a vampire. Gulthias has returned, and with his return the dragon cultists are returning. Many of whom had succumbed to death and then undeath. Gulthias has many creatures at his command, and he has been concocting some monstrosities. I can tell you only that what you seek is kept deep in the very core of the spire, and it will not be easy, your journey to this. But having seen how you have done against what I have placed against you, I am confident in your abilities, working together as a team to do this.
Does Gulthias know that we're coming for him?
Gulthias is preparing for your arrival, yes. As I said, the name of the Dawnbringers has been whispered on the wind for months, starting with your deeds at Oakhurst. He knows that it was the Dawnbringers that freed him. And he knows that it's the Dawnbringers that seek to imprison him yet again.
Is it possible to not just imprison, but to destroy it utterly?
It is.
Do we have that capability? Do we?
I believe you do. How many do you know that have seen the living aspects, if not one, but two gods?
That would be, and I point to Griveth and myself.
Precisely. And now you have seen me.
Well, then at least we needn't bother wasting our time with stealth. That'll be refreshing.
We're not so good at that anyway. Is it possible? I don't know much about Spire, but to me that sounds like tower. Would we be able to fell the tower? The Angeline's got some pretty nice weaponry.
The spire is more than 300 feet tall. It rises made of the very earth of the chasm from which it rises up. It is nearly 100 feet at its base. No weapons you have will be able to tear that down.
Okay.
And the dark powers within are what keeps it strong. But you will not be going there in the Angeline.
Oh, 'tis true. You said you're gonna
I
take
will
us there.
When you are rested and you are ready, I will open a gateway for you.
What do we do about? I turn to the party. What do we do about the crab?
We return it to the ship and instruct the crew to sail to whatever friendly port would be close to us.
Your apparatus will be safe here. Your crew and the ship are safe on the shores of the Feywild.
Yeah, about that, just some of them haven't been to this type of place before. We just want to make sure they come back.
I don't know much about sailors, but restless sailors get in trouble. Kind of need somewhere to go, don't they?
Allow me to ease your mind. And she reaches out, and you feel the water falling, turning almost to mist as it falls down over your heads. As she gestures with a mighty arm, water trailing off of it like loose sleeves on a robe. And with a gesture, the forest of fey trees seems to part like a curtain. And you see a line straight down to the beach. And you see the Angeline. And then she creates this whirl of water in the air. Crystal clear, you can see through it, but as it grows, the image you're seeing seems to move as if you're moving through the trees. It's enlarging, acting like a massive water spyglass. And you see the Angeline sitting upon the waves. The waves crashing against the ship, almost as if you are seeing a still image. You see Victor looking out, peering at the shore, and you see the crewman who was standing next to Victor, leaning in as if he's saying something to him. And if you look very closely, you can see that over the course of about a minute, he seems to move about 1 millimeter. They seem to be, from this vantage point anyway, the Angeline and the crew seem to be either in stasis or moving in time in a different flow. Does that ease your fears?
Oh yeah, that'll work.
I've had my experience with restless sailors, and I would just as soon they not become restless within the borders of the Feywild. And Cantriel, I think you're probably the only one with your high passive. You might notice that along the edges, some of the dryads, they kind of, as she says this, they're kind of leaning by the trees, crossing their arms, and a couple of them have pouty looks on their faces, like they're upset that the sailors aren't allowed to come into the island.
I mean, maybe you can give them like a little holiday, like a day.
Give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oh, actually, I forgot my persuasion's ridiculous.
So's mine.
That is going to be a 27.
Really?
Oh, wait, no, 20. Wait, no, 26. Nothing wrong. 26. Taking a point away.
All right. You have just persuaded the matron.
Shut up.
She rolled a 23 against your persuasion. If that is what you wish, I will allow them 1 day of shore leave after you are gone.
Just let them stretch their legs a little bit and
Yes.
meet the locals.
stretch their legs, and you see
Not literally. Not.
you see some of the dryads, all of the dryads, the men and the women, and a couple of the more fluid dryads. They all seem to be very happy. Not like, I don't mean this in a salacious way, but more like they get to see people. They like to interact with people. They seem happy by this. You have quite an ordeal ahead of you. You can rest here. And I will open the gate when you are ready. Allow me to prepare a meal for you.
Do you have anything to drink?
We have plenty for you to drink. And
Excellent news.
You watch as the matron Eve, you see that as the water is flowing, it seems to catch the light and begins in the same way that the sunlight reflects off of the waves on the sea. You begin to see these points of light reflecting on all these different microwaves in her form, and you see that it grows at the center. It begins to grow with a bright golden light, and the water actually begins to her form begins to reduce, and you notice that where the water was forming hair and flowing down, it begins to turn almost pure white with light and begins to flow down, and her size gets smaller and smaller until her form changes before your eyes completely. For just the briefest of moments, the light is too bright for anyone to bear to look at her form. Brilliant golden light, and you're forced to either turn away or hold your hand up, and then the light reduces, and standing there on the surface of the pond, the matron Eve, the Angeline, has resorted to, whether her true form or just another form, what appears to be, it's best described as almost looking like a golden horse, but its skin seems to almost be made of scales, and instead of hooves, it has talons. Long, flowing white mane, and even flows out from the nostrils and even down in like a beard. Ears, very fey ears that go back for several feet. In this form, she still towers about 15 feet tall. In the center of her head, in a brilliant mother of pearl that seems to almost be inlaid with diamond, is a single horn. And I would say Cantriel and Fig can both make either nature or I'll allow Cantriel and Fig to make nature or history checks, and anybody else trained in religion can also make a religion check.
Fig got a 23 in history.
22 in history.
19 in religion.
18 in religion.
All right, Fig and Cantriel. Cantriel, you've heard of these in association, this form in association with the Feywild, and Fig, you have read of these in Copernicus's library when you spent so much time in there. This is They are known as emissaries. They are celestials, and they are known by the common name of Kirin. They are boons of incredible goodness, often emissaries of the gods themselves, as this one has apparently shown herself to be. She is standing, as I said, nearly 15 feet tall in this form. And she is walking on the water. She walks to the shoreline where all of you stand, and sort of as she passes by you, and she just sort of does a walk by, you can all feel just the warm wisps of her mane and her hair as they trail by like fine silk. And where there was none before, there is now along this shore a magnificent picnic dinner, a bounty of food and drink laid out before you. As once again, you have been granted a hero's feast. So the hero's feast, as a reminder, I will roll the number. So for the next hour, you can consume as much food and drink as you want. And you do find such a wide variety of foods and drinks that you are familiar with. And also that you're not familiar with: golden ales and wines and liquors, a variety of fruit juices and nectars. In the middle of the table, perhaps much larger than you remember it, though it does appear to be, it looks as if it might in fact be the actual ham hock that Thorgarn wielded as a weapon.
Talmud
wielded as a weapon. But yeah, there's a massive ham hock in the middle of the table here, along with anything else that you might desire. If anybody had any diseases or poisoning, you are no longer diseased or poisoned. You are immune to poison and being frightened for the next 24 hours. And all wisdom saving throws will be at advantage. Also, for the next 24 hours, your hit point maximum will increase by... of course, I dropped it. It feels only right that I should roll this number with my new Explorer's dice, what is it, Laurel Silver Hand, and one of the Friendship and Magic dice. And all of your hit points go up by 14. I rolled a 9 and a 5. So you have an hour with which to consume this. This would, of course, also count as a short rest.
Is this temporary hit points or?
No, this is your hit point maximum.
Okay.
Which you can put in as an override.
Yeah, there's a if you click on your hit points, there's the max HP adjustment.
Yep, and then next time you take a long rest, I think those go away when you take your long rest. Well, it depends on your settings, I guess.
It should say in the spell, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, they're supposed to last for 24 hours by the spell, but if you don't watch it, I think that in D&D Beyond, I think it resets when you do a... Right. If you check the box...
like a toggle.
Yeah, there's a toggle that says to reset max, so just keep an eye on that. Now, you are being given the Hero's Rest and the benefits of a short rest. It is your choice if you want to stay longer. She has told you you can rest as long as you want. So I will turn it back over to you all if you want to have any discussions, figure out what your next actions are. She is near to hand. if anybody wishes to talk to her.
So when we were in the Dwarven Hold, Griveth and I, spoke with Eldath and Moradin, or their agents. Yeah, I was put upon this path, I believe, long before I met that agent. Do you have any correspondence with those dwarven gods?
I am an emissary of Eldath. I act on her behest, and I carry out her will in the world. That's the answer you're given.
Okay, so that would be a no then. All right, I'm just things have been trying and troubling with what we've done, and I'd just like to make sure that I'm still upon the path that he has set me upon.
If you believe that you are following the will of Moradin, then perhaps you are carrying out it.
It is difficult for a dwarf worshipping god of craft and anvil to not really get much time crafting, if that makes any sense.
Your hammer.
Aye.
You carry it with you always?
Always.
The knowledge of the dwarves. You carry that with you always.
As much as this will let me.
Your spirit of craft. You carry it with you always. That one is not a question. You can craft wherever you are. The inability to use your hands and your heart to create is only because you don't make the time to do so.
Noted.
What's everyone else doing?
I'm bowing to the shining emissary and asking if she has anything that will aid us, my friends and I, in our quest to banish this evil from the land.
You have everything you need, Griveth. You honor Eldath in your service. Have you learned from your mistakes?
I have, but my dreams still haunt me of that dark time that I had that passenger, the dark passenger with me. Like flashes of things that happened that I wish I could take back, and I wish I could dissolve. I wish I could rectify, but
Whether in dream or in waking moments, if you are always looking back to where you have been and what you have already done, you will not be able to see what lies before you, and you will not be prepared for it.
Very wise emissary.
You cannot change the things that have already happened.
Will this deed cleanse me of that feeling of guilt?
Well, that's the funny thing about guilt. Guilt is not given to you. It is something you take. Something you hold on to. Something only you can release.
I will take your counsel to heart, emissary.
She gives a slight bow of her equine head, and for a moment the wisps of mane, again flowing like silk, and in this case almost flowing like water, seem to frame her head. And you swear for a moment you see in her eyes the eyes of Eldath that you once looked upon. Drown, what are you doing during all this?
Eating and drinking everything that's available slowly and methodically over the course of the entire hour. He doesn't wolf it down, but he eats pretty much consistently through the entire feast. He'll converse with anybody who wants to talk, but he had his pressing questions of the emissary answered, so he has no more interest in bothering her. This is the sort of eating that someone who's used to going long stretches without this sort of bounty.
Very good. Fig.
Fig is taking notes. And if anyone were to look over at these notes, maybe thinking that they were part of the mission at hand, would be sadly mistaken. They are of a particular flower that he has seen that is growing on the shaded side underneath a rock, quite small, multicolored. And I imagine that if you looked at this flower, you would see that every time this shadow or a cloud pass, that would kind of shrink the shadow of the rock, the flower would close up. And as the shadow lengthened, the flower would open up, and every time it does so, Fig jots down something else in his notes, speaking to himself.
Very well. I'm gonna have you make me your choice, a nature or a survival roll.
Probably nature. That is a 14.
Okay. Noted. Cantriel.
You'd probably actually see sort of a shift in Cantriel entirely. She's not wound so tightly all of a sudden, and she's actually running around in Elvish, speaking with everyone in the area, and her voice has become more melodic and her laughter is more musical. And not that she looks younger, but she looks a little less burdened than she has in quite a long time. And she's almost practically ignoring the food. Like, she'll grab a couple bits here and there and eat something or drink something, but she's more interested in speaking with the people who live in the Fey Isle than of, getting her fill of food.
All right, there are a few. There's the satyr, and there's a few of the dryads that are. They just seem to be flitting about. The fairies. Sorry, the fairies are flitting about. The dryads aren't flitting about. The dryads are just casually watching, occasionally tree striding across to get a better vantage point. Many of them are watching all of you very closely. And by now, there's easily a dozen or so of them. And I would say, Cantriel, you probably noticed that about 3 or 4 of them are hanging near the path where you all came up from, and kind of occasionally looking down the path as if they're looking towards where the ship is.
Oh, she'd beeline it there. All right, so the shorter one, sort of sweet, has sort of a terse behavior, but I'm sure you can get him talking if you want to. Like, she's completely encouraging it. She absolutely will be sort of playing like little matchmaker mode, like giving them tips and advice and stuff.
So you're just kind of like giving them cribs notes on the crew?
Absolutely, without question. They've been through a lot with us being on board. Just make sure they have a lovely time.
As you're sort of going through talking about the different personality types and characters and whatnot, the crowd grows until you have about twice as many that were there, listening very raptly to what you're saying, and very eager to at what potentially lies ahead. Cantriel the matchmaker. Talmud, anything in particular for you?
Just like Drown, Talmud is going to spend the entire time eating, but he is not delicate and slow and deliberate with it at all. It's about making sure that he can have something of everything that's there, other than the vegetables, obviously. And especially if there's stuff to drink. I mean, he's just, Gimli at Rohan, just, with it down his beard, and he's just completely making a fool and a slob out of himself. And while he's still eating with mouths full of food, he's talking to the satyr and telling him what he needs to change about his paintings to make them more accurate. So, yeah, he's just making an absolute scene.
Which I fully believe is, underplaying or, overcorrecting Thorgarn's lack of, lack of doing anything in the dragon battle, I imagine.
No, he probably tells him to like draw Thorgarn on a separate rock, like next to the one where like
And Sabine is very much paying attention. He, as you start talking, he makes a motion with his hands, and an uncountable number of fairies, they seem as little more than points of light to you. They flit over to a tree, and you hear this sort of tearing sound as a single neat sheet of very thin bark is pulled off, and he pulls out of a pocket an ink pot and a quill, and as you're talking, he's like, "Well, yes, is that how it happened? Oh man, I had no idea. Well, absolutely. Oh dear." And he's already starting to make sketches, and whether you're looking or not, he's a little bit like this, yes. No,
yes,
make this
absolutely.
one bigger.
And he's like dying laughing and trying to stifle it as he's eating and drinking. He's having a fantastic time right now.
And you can see he's making notes on the side of different pigments, and he's sort of talking to the fairies again about what new different things, leaves and fungi and whatnot he's going to need to start mixing up a whole new set of pigments. And yeah, that goes on the whole time you're encouraging him.
So when the hour is up and there's no more food, Thorgarn certainly sampled, including the vegetables, but he did not make a mess or a fool of himself as his cousin did. But as the hour is up, he's gonna ask the the satyrs or the dryads or whoever is around, like, are there trees and stuff? Is there deadfall that he can actually use to get a fire coaxed? And he will actually try to see what he might be able to fiddle with craft wise while we get into a rest.
Okay. Yeah, you absolutely can. By now, and by the time, or over the course of this hour, and in particular, aiding in Fig's exploration of the behavior of this Fey flower, the shadows begin to grow longer and longer as the sun sets, and the transition isn't as stark as you would have thought, moving from day to night as dusk comes. And by the time the Hero's Feast vanishes, this entire area is illuminated by hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of fairies, as well as brilliant starlight. I mean, V couldn't have picked a better background for the behind her. As just brilliant stars are illuminating. There's moonlight. The moon is rising on the other side and just beginning to spill light into this area. And some of the dryads will get for you. They bring you plenty of wood to set up a fire. They actually direct you to an area sort of midway between the wall and the water, well away from the trees.
He's not super intelligent, but he knows enough at this point in time that there are special trees when it comes to elves and fey kind, and he wants to do like overcorrect and make sure that he is not gonna cause any serious issue here.
One thing that might be surprising to you or any of your party that has built fires, particularly as you're looking to use this fire to do a little bit of crafting, is they don't bring you a whole lot of wood. They bring you the equivalent of one of those bundles that you buy at a campground after you check in, where it's like $5 for
yep.
for about what looks like it's going to last you just enough until night falls and you have to buy another one.
Yeah. Is this going to be enough? I'm planning to use it for a bit.
You're just getting lots of encouraging nods from them. And if you go ahead and start a fire with it, you find that it actually lights very easily. And the wood, that's not even a word. The wood burns, begins to burn and burns for quite a while. And you're not really seeing a whole lot in the way of it beginning, like it actually consuming the wood. It is consuming the wood, but it seems to be consuming it at a much slower rate.
So I'm certain, that I'm not going to be able to do anything, grand, considering, I don't have all of the different tools with me, but I take Forge Fane and turn it into an anvil. And I know I've got a handful of the smaller smithing hammers with me, and I don't have much in the way of resources, but Thorgarn is certainly inspired by where we are and who we've talked to. So it's entirely up to you as to, how many or whatnot that I can do. But I want to take gold coins because I know they've got a lower melting or a lower metal softening rate than iron. Easier to work in this situation, and actually try to duplicate the Chiron, the Angeline, in that form.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna have you Whoops, that's the wrong chart. That's the crime chart.
I hope I'm not getting in the crime.
Okay. Give me a I'm not even sure what this is. We'll call it a dexterity check.
All right. Just a general dexterity or dexterity plus?
Well, you're using your Forge Fane and Smith's tools. Do you have Smith's tools?
I do, yeah.
So yeah, you can add your proficiency bonus.
So that is a dirty 20.
Okay.
No, 21. Actually get a dex mod.
How determined are you to make this thing?
I mean, I had a celestial being, say that I've got the things with me, and that I should do it if I'm going to essentially pay proper homage to my deity. So yeah, I would say I'm pretty determined.
With that roll, you consume 50 gold pieces to make a smallish statue, and it takes you a full 2 hours of working. The gold melts very quickly, but you're having to work with heating it in portions and sort of building up and shaping and working with it, and it helps that you have your Forge Fane out as a working surface, and you can sort of feel this energy of this grove with the moonlight and surrounded by literal celestial beings and the after Heroes Feast mirth and everything. It just seems to energize you. And after 2 hours of crafting, you end up with a very decent looking solid gold statue of Matron Eve the Angeline in her Kirin form.
Cool.
And as the moonlight shines down on Forge Fane and some fairies begin to flit around it, causing light to dance off of its shimmering form, we will go ahead and use that to fade to black for the rest and take our own short rest as we take a quick 10-minute break so that everybody can refill their glasses, empty their bladders, or whatever you got to do. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has tuned in tonight. We've got a few bits and some subscriptions. Keep them coming. Keep them going with the domain dice, because the second half of this night's probably not going to be as nice as they begin their true first forays towards the heart of the Nightfang Spire. Stick around. Whoops, that is the wrong button. Ignore the fire. Ignore the fire. We're still here. Stick around. We'll see you on the other side of this break. we go. And we're back. I just realized I gave you guys like no warning that I was coming back as I saw you ducking out of frame V. My apologies. That was on me. I just literally pushed the button and said, "Okay, we're back."
I was paying attention, so I'm like, well, I'll stop eating for the moment.
So, the next morning, you all awaken if you chose to sleep. I know some of you do not need to sleep. Whether you were resting in a trance, or Fig, do you even need to sleep at all?
Yes, Fig does need a few hours of being in a inert state, though he's still aware of everything. 6 hours in active,
Okay.
motionless state.
Okay. So the time passes, and as morning comes, the fire is still burning, with at least a couple of logs still fully intact, with that same small bundle of wood that the dryads brought you, Thorgarn.
He respects enough that he would have like sought help when he was done to be like, this needs to get put out in order for him to go to sleep. So unless it was like, hey, no, you're good, go ahead and go to sleep.
No, they if you did that, they would have allowed you or told you. I imagine one of the dryads just says, "No, it is fine.
Okay.
You will let it burn. It is an honor to the fallen tree to consume it completely with the fire. It will be safe here."
Thorgarn is utterly amazed then, to see that the fire is still going. And it's like, what the hell? How long have I been asleep?
When you awaken, there is a little bit of activity over by where the image of the six of you, with the test of the leaf mosaics illustration was. There are two new illustrations. One that is completed that shows the Dawnbringers standing triumphantly with a waterfall behind them and a scattering of leaves all along the ground at their feet. And the one next to it shows, that seems to be more in a sketch state, shows the Dawnbringers at the feast before the mighty golden Kirin. So, as you all awaken, you would also find that the matron Eve, the Angeline, in her Kirin form, is standing on the water, and there is a light flow of water trickling down over the edge of the cliff. Does anybody want to do anything in particular as you awaken before you set out on your journey? That's me, the DM, asking you that, because that was not the voice of the matron Eve.
I think that Fig would definitely want to take one last lap around where they are, just collecting any last minute samples, taking down notes.
Thorgarn wants to leave the statuette in the clearing. He doesn't want to just like put it out in the open and make it look obvious. But wherever wherever he feels inspired is a good spot to put the statue. that's where he's gonna leave it.
All right. Yeah, you would find closer to where the water falls, you would find that there is a cluster of rocks of 3 boulders that all seem to have relatively flat surfaces, one more so than the other. That would be a perfect place to set this statue at.
And he does so.
All right. Anybody else?
No, I don't think Drown doesn't have anything. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I don't have anything terribly important to do. Just get up. Definitely sleeps. Then gets up, girds himself for the day, and just kind of hangs out wherever it seems like this portal is going to happen. Just kind of watches everybody else prepare.
Cantriel is almost reluctant to get moving. She's being far more methodical and taking her time with things and just sort of savoring the taste of the morning drink and breakfast and things like that. She's definitely not agitated or frantic or frenetic like she normally is. In fact, she hasn't really been talking that much either.
Griveth?
Griveth is ready to go. He's he is like, when is the portal coming? Let's go. Let's get on with this destiny thing.
Talmud?
So I'm not sure exactly how a hero's feast sits on your stomach once you're done gorging yourself for an hour, but I imagine that Talmud probably slept basically just wherever he kind of rolled over and snored loudly most of the evening. And he is up and ready to go also, but with nowhere near the vigor and verve that Griveth is showing. He's just kind of, and he kind of, leans over and kind of has to belch. And then he's got to, bend down and pick up his weapon. And he kind of has to stop for a second because the heartburn starts in on him. And then finally he kind of stretches and cracks his back. And he's like, okay, fine. Yes, Griveth. Let's summon another door.
I trust you all have slept well and are ready to begin your journey. And in her Kirin form, she steps forward towards the shore and makes one more pass by all of you. Just for a moment, you see that she's giving each of you a look in the eyes. And then she says, "Follow me." And she turns and begins walking across the surface of the water towards the waterfall. And as she's stepping, you see that the water becomes motionless in her wake. Do you follow?
Oh, yeah.
And each of you find that you are walking on water. That won't work anymore, Jeremy. I disabled all of the individual cues. You should be able to just type it in there, though. You find that you are walking in... Okay, hold on. Before I get you to this transition, I'm just going to address this. Thank you to Thread Raiders, who just gifted some subs to the channel. I got to get you your domain dice. I want to make sure I get all of these. That's 1, 2, 3. So you guys are at 109. That would put you at 112. I want to make sure we get you all of the domain dice you deserve. All right, 112 domain dice. So as you begin following Matron Eve in her Kirin form, walking across the surface of the water, the very waterfall itself seems to part and the water diverts, but not just the water. The stone of the cliff also parts and forms an archway. It's very rough, not a refined archway. And as she reaches to that archway in her Kirin form, she curves to the left and just turns and stands, bows lightly down, and with her horned head motions. Through there, this will take you directly to a cave that is in the wall of the defile in which rests the Nightfang Spire. From here, my influence and my protection does not extend. I believe in you, Dawnbringers. Go well. And she bows. And if anybody looks around you, and I know Cantriel would also definitely notice this, that there are dozens and dozens of dryads, satyrs, and fairies all around the pond watching you all leave. Thank you to Beleg Moradin. The Blessing of Moradin, apparently. It's in the name. Just bestowed 5 subscriptions, and I believe and Goblin Katie. I got to keep up with this so you guys have your domain dice, because Goblin Katie also started a hype train, apparently. I don't even know what a hype train is. All right, so that's 6 additional domain dice, putting you at 118. Whoops, that didn't take. Why didn't that show up? That's weird. That's not right. Okay, I will fix that. As you see all of these dryads bestowing their blessing upon you with their fey magics as they watch you leave, who is leading the charge as you, or rather, not necessarily the charge, however you want to go in, who's going first? Of course, Griveth's going first.
Me, I have Dawnbringer drawn, so there is light.
I think Talmud is probably not far behind Griveth, and as he goes through, he turns to the Kirin, and he kind of like halfway bows, kind of in uncertainty, and then partway through changes into something that almost resembles a curtsy, and then kind of finishes with a bow, like he's not accustomed to whatever he is supposed to do in this situation, and it's very apparent. And then he just kind of finishes and says, "Thank you. We appreciate it. I'll just," and he kind of follows after Griveth.
So when Talmud goes through, I would look back to the Kirin as well and say, my cousin really doesn't have a way with words. Thank you for all of your help in expediting our mission, and I look forward to a successful return. And I give a proper bow and step through.
Who is the last one to go in? Cantriel. All right. As you enter this rough archway into this cavern system, you can just make out the illumination coming from Griveth's drawn Dawnbringer sword. And I do believe we've gone over this before. You might have to correct me because I don't remember. Do Goliaths have dark vision, Dan?
They do not,
Okay.
but Drown has Devil's Sight, so he can see as if it were perfectly bright.
Okay.
Out to 120.
So it is only Griveth that actually needs the illumination of the Dawnbringer. So it only helps the rest of you. But
We don't like to burst his bubble about it, though. So just let him.
right. I'm helping here. As you walk through Cantriel, you hear the subtle shifting. It sounds as if dirt is collapsing. But you hear, or you turn around and you see, rather, that the stone is closing behind you. And that portal closes. And at that moment, all of you feel, with the exception of Fig probably not immediately being affected by this, the air grows very damp and moist and thick as you realize you are all underwater. As soon as the cave closed behind you, it's as if you had dove under the water to begin with. You all find that you are underwater.
Like we're submerged.
You are
right
completely
now.
submerged.
Talmud is freaking the flip out right now.
Griveth, you're in the lead. What is your reaction as the water suddenly surrounds you?
So as I hear the stone or the was it the stone move into place or the cavern close,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of turn around to say, there's no going back, friends, and that's like the water just suddenly fills up.
It doesn't even fill. It's as if it was there all along.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay.
It's basically a magical transformation.
It's like just like, and like Griveth immediately, realizes we're in trouble. Kind of immediately looks around, jabbing Dawnbringer, forward to see if he can find any way to get out of this what seems like a trap to him. Does he notice anything?
You're moving forward. You see the cavern still stretches before you. You can see this. I would say it's about 10 feet wide, and you can see up to about 10 feet above you. That you're completely submerged. The water, our light is moving through the water, and illuminating ahead of you, and you can see that continues moving forward. So Griveth is moving as quickly as he can forward. What about the rest of you? Let's just go down the line. Drown.
Yeah. With 120 feet, refresh me on sort of what I can make out.
So you can see for 120 feet. You can actually see then that probably about 60 feet in front of Griveth, the cavern seems to open up, and you can make out that there seems to be, even further beyond that, a larger cavern, and you can see that subtle transition that happens, the displacement that happens at the surface of water. You can also detect there seems to be a sort of greenish blue glow coming from up ahead as well.
All right. Does anyone look to be struggling particularly badly? I know that Talmud does not do well on ships. Does that extend to being in the water?
Simply turning around, you can definitely see a flailing dwarf.
All right. So I will basically grab him by the back collar of his armor and then just swim toward the surface with him. And I have a swim speed of 30 feet, so I can just kind of pull him along.
All right. So you grab Talmud and begin swimming. Fig. Or sorry, I skipped Cantriel. You guys are in a different order on my Zoom overlay than over in the thing over here. So let's go to Cantriel.
Yeah, probably one of those things, realizing I'm underwater, I'm going to look up and Misty step myself up closer to the surface of the water as much as possible. The full 30 feet.
All right, so you misty step 30 feet ahead through the water, and there's this. It doesn't even really make a noise. There's just you're there, and then you're suddenly 30 feet ahead with a sort of almost looking like ink in water. The way this misty step works underwater, with just a misty step has a verbal component, I believe.
That's a good question. I don't think it did. Where'd it go?
I'm confident of that one because I
It
have
is verbal,
used
yep.
Misty
Yep, it is
Step out
verbal.
of water.
Yep.
So
It
there
is.
would be a bit of a muffled verbal component.
There'd be a bloop.
But you are definitely able to do that. And that puts you that much closer. Now, Fig, what about you?
Fig wants to make sure that up is in fact up by looking at the bubbles that I'm assuming are kind of leaving the others' mouths.
Cantriel in particular, as she says the magical component for her Misty Step, and it appears the only thing that has changed in this cavern is the portal closing and it suddenly being full of water. Otherwise, the bubbles are moving at what you believe to be up.
So then I think, Fig isn't particularly concerned. So he is walking at a rather leisurely pace, though he is keeping an eye on everyone else, just seeing if anyone else is freaked out.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that Cantriel quickly Misty step forward. Drown is swimming with ease with Talmud in tow. Griveth, fully armored with Dawnbringer held out in front of him, is sort of doing that thing where it looks like he's running into the wind, sort of leaning into the water, and you can hear that muffled of his armor shifting. Thorgarn.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. I think I'm actually going to cast control water on around us and part the water, if that makes sense. I've never used this spell before, so I'm just looking at it. I can choose a cube of 100 feet on a side. So you would just kind of center it around us and then part that water in this cube.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
So, okay, so I imagine that Fig immediately, you would hear this like bass begin, and Fig just sends these lines of gears floating on either side of all of you, and you would see that it's almost as if they begin to move in like a machine almost, and it begins to suck out the water. You can see it escaping through the holes in the center of these gears until it drains, and they still begin to like move as you're walking.
So, Griveth, you would suddenly find yourself kind of like if you were doing that resistance training, like with a resistance band, and it suddenly broke, and you kind of stumble step forward. Cantriel, as you were you misty stepped and were beginning to move through, suddenly the water moves from around you, and we'll get to Drown and Talmud in a moment, because you were swimming as this water parted, but I want to know what you're doing during this. Up to initially, and then as the water begins to part.
So Thorgarn, has already demonstrated that he's not as problematic in the water as his cousin. So like he had already dove in, so he was just gonna kind of surge forward. We're not really afraid, so I assumed, obviously they the Chiron put us here to be able to go forward and get to where we need to go. So he was just in typical dwarven fashion moving forward.
And as you're moving forward, it just gets that much easier as the water kind of moves to the side. And what does it look like, Drown, as you're swimming and the water begins to part, as you're dragging Talmud behind you?
I think it would depend how
Don't worry.
That's Talmud making noise
That's
behind him.
yes. I was gonna say that's just immersion. That's Talmud's his cries behind you.
All right, we're gonna try this. All right. So, how close to the surface, or just in sort of the parting trench, were we when this happened?
You're about halfway to where you saw the surface when the water begins to part around you. I would say so. It's probably fairly equivalent to as you near the surface, as the water essentially sort of lowers down around you and moves up into these walls to the side, though it just came much quicker than you were expecting.
Right. So then he'll probably can't get away from where it parts fast enough. So he'll just sort of ride the cascade of water down to the now exposed floor of the pool.
And Talmud,
it's still hanging on to Talmud.
And Talmud, you are soaking wet, but suddenly you can breathe again.
Yeah, I think he probably coughs up a lot of water first. Just like coming all out of his nose and his mouth, and he finally. See, that's why I don't like dealing with elves. They're always tricky.
So with Fig having created a relatively dry space to move through, you are able to move the rest of the distance to where this cavern opens up, and you can see now that this part of the cavern that you're coming from it opens up into a partially flooded cavern that is probably about 40 feet wide and at least 60 feet long. You see for about another 20 feet this water goes before you can see a shoreline, and then there are stalactites and stalagmites in different places hanging from the ceiling, which now is about 30 feet above you, and you can see this entire area is bathed in a bluish green bioluminescence from some sort of fungi that is growing on the walls of the cavern. You, I assume, proceed until you can get out of the water, at which point you find yourself on a rocky shoreline. The room, as I said, still stretches about 40 feet to your 20 feet to your left and right, and then about another 40 feet ahead, though it's hard to tell what's that way as it begins to narrow. The cavern begins to narrow, and as I said, there's stalactites and stalagmites, and everything is shrouded partially in shadow from the bioluminescence. Those of you with better vision, your view is still obstructed as there are these teeths of stone and rock and stone from the ceiling and the floor. What would you like to do? And yes, I realize I just said of rock and stone.
Is there anything about this rock and stone that is, unusual, abnormal?
Define unusual or abnormal.
I'm a dwarf. I know a lot about stone. Is it, precious? Is it unnatural? any of that stuff.
Go ahead and give me one of those good old dwarven stone cunning checks. We'll do a history check. See what you can tell me, or what you can tell about this cavern.
That is going to be a 16.
This, looking around, it just looks like it's a naturally formed cavern. Where, you cannot tell. No hands have worked this stone.
That's kind of what I wanted to know.
Talmud is picking up Ghost Cleaver and is GTFOing out of the water as fast as he can. Wherever there is dry land, that's where he's headed.
Cantriel is cursing in Elvish about how she's been out of the Feywild way too long and forgot about the tricks and the nuances of how things are done.
Drown just kind of trudges along with them.
What I don't
Griveth
understand is
is just trying to crawl onto the stone with everybody else.
I thought that that feast was supposed to, you know, take away your fear and.
It's not fear.
Okay, then what is it, cousin?
It's a healthy respect. There's a difference.
Sure look like fear to me.
Can we please proceed? We've got something that we're supposed to be doing here. And I'm pretty sure it's not just heaping shit upon me.
I'm walking right next to you.
Maybe walk quieter.
Fig, Drown, what are you two doing?
Yep, just kind of trudging along with them and looking somewhat annoyed as they loudly argue about this or that.
I think is trying to figure out where they are. Like, I know they're in a cave with rocks and stones, but does he, this is weird, but does he sense that they are somewhere very different than where they were, or is this more of the same? Because I know you had explained the Feywild as like you could feel where you were. Could he still feel that, or?
So you definitely would notice, all of you would notice, now that you're out of that immediate danger of the water, you would begin to notice that it's kind of like if you had been hearing birds chirping all along, so much so that you began to no longer notice them, but then they weren't chirping anymore. You notice the absence of that sound that's always there. You feel this void, this separation of the Feywild. Everything that you felt in the presence of Matron Eve and the Dryads and the Fae is gone. Though you have no idea where in the world you are definitely in a different place.
Fig would just take note of that in his mind and continue on following them.
Drown, what's your passive? I didn't see yours in the side chat.
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice. 9. Yeah, 9.
Griveth, Cantriel, and Talmud. You all of you can hear the sound of the water dripping off of you. You can hear that sort of bloop, 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 the dripping in the cavernous dripping sound as you're all sopping wet and just dripping either onto the stone or into this area. You can hear that sort of bling, bling of the distant drips. But the three of you, Talmud, Cantriel, and Griveth, you hear from about somewhere on the other side of some of these stalagmites and stalactites, somewhere on the far end of this cavern, you hear a skittering of stone.
We're not alone.
Of course not. That would be easy. And I'll get my bow drawn. And also mention, we might have company.
What did you hear?
The pitter-patter skittering footfalls.
Everyone make a perception check.
That's a 5.
16 for me.
17.
24 for
now.
Griveth. Sorry.
What did you have, Drown?
12.
I got a 13.
Griveth,
I got 24.
you are the only one that sees a flicker of movement about 20 feet ahead and up on the ceiling as a shadow seems to weave between the stalactites hanging from the ceiling. And you hear this. The combination of stones clattering lightly and what sounds like talons or feet or something gripping stone as it moves along the ceiling.
Friends, there's something on the ceiling.
I will look up. How tall is the ceiling? Is it within my my range of vision?
Ceiling's only 30 feet up.
Good.
Go ahead and give me a investigation check at advantage.
That I'm much better at.
Oops.
So that is going to be a dirty 20.
You see stalactites. Whatever was moving that Griveth saw is no longer moving.
All right. As we, whether we just sit here or if we keep moving, I'm going to keep an eye on the ceiling.
All right. Let's see. Talmud, Cantriel, and Griveth again. You, as you're all sort of at the ready, you're looking around, and the three of you, whether you sense it, something falls on your shoulder, whatever it may be, from behind you above the lake, or the pond, whatever, in this underground cavern, something is stretching down from the ceiling towards you. I need you all to roll for initiative, and the three of you will not be surprised this round. And I'm going to attempt to run, I've set this up. I'm going to attempt to run this with the encounter builder. So I need to roll my initiatives. That's going to be that. Okay, Thorgarn, what you got?
I got a 17.
And Cantriel.
Also 17.
Obviously, Cantriel's dex is higher.
I'll let you two decide who's going to go. Griveth?
19 for me.
18. Fig?
15.
Talmud?
A 10.
And
Double
Drown.
digits, good job.
And Drown, what'd you get?
Drown's got a 9.
9. Somebody had to get those single digits. All right. Well, so let's see. There's enough for each of you. All of you are going to have an attack against you as what appears to be rocks begin dropping from the ceiling. So Griveth, a 7 is going to miss you as something bounces harmlessly off of your. I mean, it's heavy, but it bounces harmlessly off of your shoulder as it hits the water or hits the stone near you, and it is gonna 6, 8, 9. Okay, and then let's see. We'll just go around the horn there. Drown does a 10's not gonna hit you. Jeez. Cantriel, I know 9's not gonna hit you. Are you kidding me? Does this die roll double digits? Fig, a 11 is not gonna hit you, I assume. Thorgarn, of course, with Thorgarn I'd roll a 17.
17 hits.
17 hits, okay. And then Talmud, I rolled an 11. So Thorgarn, you're the only one that's going to take damage as these what appears to be smallish stalactites drop down on top of you. You are going to take 3 points of piercing damage. Oh wait, that's 8, 11 points total of piercing damage. All right. Next, let me move past these. 3, 4, 5, 6. Griveth, you are up.
All right, waving Dawnbringer around, shining it like a torch, and trying to see figure out what is going on. What do the things that fell from the ceiling look like? Are they just rocks?
They, as you can see them now on the stone, and they're writhing around. They appear as though they may have gotten wounded from their fall. These creatures look like good-sized slug-like creatures with spiny ends all around them. Their tail is pointed, looking like a stalactite, but you can now see sharp rows of teeth and sharpened tail, and you can see eyes, as it already looks like it's trying to right itself and move towards. It's not actually moving yet, but it appears like it's going to begin crawling away.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to put an end to these things. So I'll attack.
All right, you're going to attack the one nearest to you. Go ahead and make an attack roll.
Okay, I had a question about D&D Beyond. It's weird. I have Dawnbringer as my weapon. It's equipped and it's bond. What was that called? Where it's
Attuned?
Attuned.
Yeah, attuned. I'm sorry, brain fart there. It's attuned and it's equipped, but that the hit is the same as my unarmed strike and my javelin attack, which are not magical, but Dawnbringer is a +2. So is it not just showing my +2 attack for the sword?
Let's see.
So should I have a 12 instead of a 10? Because my javelin says +10 to hit, And my unarmed strike is +10, and Dawnbringer says +10.
Let's see. So you got a.
What
I've got it attuned and equipped.
our proficiencies are 3 currently?
You have overridden. You have an override on Dawnbringer.
Oh, okay.
So it's because you put overrides in there. It's defaulting to those. Go ahead and just use what's in there now. Afterwards, we can fix it.
Okay.
Just add your +2 to your attacks and damage.
Okay, we'll do.
So it'll be a +12, and then it'll be, yeah.
Gotcha.
It will be a +10 though, or I think for the damage.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah. I got a 22.
Yeah, that's gonna hit.
All right. Dawnbringer comes down. Oh, nice. That's 18 points of damage.
You bring Dawnbringer down, and you see it shatter the natural armor that is it's like a crust of stone, and you see this sort of greenish yellow goo spill out on the stone as this thing sort of as you cut through it.
Nice. I'm gonna cast about for another. Is there another one on the floor trying to right itself near me at least?
There's 5 more of them all around your party.
Okay. Well, I'm going for another one. Oh, yeah, that's a hit. 30.
Yep, that's gonna hit.
Oh, that wasn't so good. Okay, 11 points of damage.
You stab at this one and break off some of the spines, but you're not able to kill this one.
All right. Look out, friends. They're falling from the ceiling.
Cantriel, you are up next.
All right, they're pretty much surrounding us, right?
They have all fallen around you, but you also were one of the 3 that noticed that there was something else coming from the ceiling. There are long tendrils reaching down from one of the stalactites towards all of you.
I am shooting it. But first, as a bonus action,
the tendril, or where the tendril's coming from?
Where the tendril's coming from, up in the ceiling area. But bonus action casting Hunter's Mark first.
All right, and you can easily see where this tendril connects to a stalactite, and sort of tracing along it and looking up, you can see the stalactite, though it looks as if it's made of stone, there's a shining orb of an eye now visible in it. As I think everybody now knows for sure what this is.
I am shooting for the freaking eye.
All right, go ahead and make an attack.
I love my dice. Okay, does a 24 hit?
Yes, a 24 does hit.
Okay, then that is going to be... Hold on. I can do this. It's going to be 13 points piercing with the first arrow. And I'm going to shoot at the eye again.
Is that including your Hunter's Mark damage?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And then does a 19 hit.
Your arrow ricochets off, leaving a spark as it just bounces off of the stone-like armor on this creature.
Oof. I swear at it.
Thorgarn, you are up next. You have one of these smaller creatures that has fallen from the ceiling and landed next to you, the one that hurt you.
Round?
Oh, that's right. That's correct. You were one of the ones that did not see it. So you will not be acting. Let's see. It was, who was it? Fig? You were the other one, right? You guys have shifted the chat. Your passive perception was higher than...
it was a 16, I believe.
For your passive?
Oh, my passive is a 10.
Oh, no. It wasn't you. It was... It was Talmud was the other one that. Okay, so Fig, you will not be acting. It is actually the Roper's turn now. All right. As it's reaching down, it has these tendrils begin grasping around. The first tendril is going to go for Fig. The second tendril is going to go for Griveth. The third tendril is going to go for Thorgarn. And the fourth tendril is going to go for, I'm going to re-roll because there, Cantriel. So we got Griveth, Cantriel, Fig, and Thorgarn. Let's see. Whoops, those are D10s. That's not how you roll attacks. Let's see. Griveth. A 14. I assume is going to miss you. As this thing comes down, you hear this sort of as this tendril reaches towards you and misses. Cantriel. It went up on my keyboard and then rolled down and dropped onto a 4. That's an 11. As you hear this sort of next to you, Fig, that is a dirty 20 to hit you. I'm going to ask, does that hit you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just barely.
Can Griveth deflect that?
Yeah, you guys were all kind of up on the shoreline. What's your how close do you have to be? Is it within 5 feet? I think to be able to do that.
I believe
I'll allow
yeah.
it. That's gonna
Yeah,
place
within
you
5
near.
feet, yeah,
That's gonna
within
place
5
you
feet.
near Fig then. So you can deflect that. So that dirty 20 is going to turn into a natural 20. Which because you forced disadvantage, we'll go with the dirty 20. Which still is going to hit. So, Fig, you are grappled. And then you don't take any damage yet. Talmud, an 11, I assume. Or sorry, it was Thorgarn that was going for. An 11 is going to miss you.
Indeed.
However, Fig, you feel this thing wrapping around you, around your waist, pinning one of your arms to your side, and it begins to pull you up towards the ceiling. You are drawn up towards this stalactite as the tendril reels you in, and you suddenly notice the eye, and you see the stone crack, and you see jagged stone-like teeth forming a massive mouth. And I'm going to say it tries to take too big of a bite, and some of the stones break off with a 10. It's not going to be able to do any damage to you as it tries to bite you, but it takes in too big of a bite. So you are currently 30 feet up in the air next to this roper with one arm pinned, grappled by its tendril. Talmud, it is your turn.
Talmud is going to, his attention is mainly on this eyed creature, the roper hanging from the ceiling still. He knows that that's likely the worst of these things and knows that there's no chance that he has of getting to it in order to fight it properly. So he's trying to make his way to where he's within this thing's reach, and he's trying to get its attention to grab at him so that he can be brought to it in order to fight it properly. But as he's doing so, he's going to make 2 haphazard attacks at these slug-like creatures.
Okay.
I'm going to take disadvantage.
Yeah, I see you just running forward, trying to get this thing's attention and just wildly swinging down with are you using Ghost Cleaver?
Yeah, that's what I had out.
Okay.
So he'll just use that for now. So the first one is not likely to hit. That's going to be a 12.
That is going to miss as Ghost Cleaver connects with the stone next to this thing and sends sparks flying.
The second one was a 15.
That will hit.
Okay. So when I rolled with disadvantage, the die that I normally roll both times rolled a 20. And the other one rolled a 2 and a 5. So there you go. Way to roleplay, Jeremy. So I'm going to hit the second one. Well, I didn't say I was raging first, so I'll hold off for now. That is going to be 17 points of slashing damage, magical.
So as you miss this first creature, the slug-like creature, you, in the shower of sparks, you bring Ghost Cleaver around, and whether intentional or purely by accident, you completely slice through another one of these creatures, sending a spray of sparks and the greenish-yellow goo as you've dispatched another one of these. Is that the end of your turn?
Yeah, the spray kind of goes up onto Thorgarn as Talmud runs past into the range of this thing's grasp. And as he's kind of brought his axe up and the pieces of this thing kind of go flying, he starts waving his hands. Right here, you daft bastard! Right here! Come on, grab a hold of me!
All right. Drown, you were one of the ones that didn't notice. And all right. Nobody notices that. So okay. We are at the top of the round, and I believe because of where everybody went, Cantriel, Thorgarn, Drown, and Griveth all make opportunity attacks against the slug-like creatures as they are attempting to slither away. And I will just point out they are doing so very slowly.
Which explains why I have a 27 to hit.
All right.
21.
Yep.
I got 26.
Hit.
Only a 14 for me.
Drown, you make an attack at this thing, and maybe sort of catching the movement out of the corner of your eye and whipping around, and you just miss it. The rest of you roll damage.
14 for me.
13.
I got a 17.
Griveth, you slice Dawnbringer absolutely right through this one. The others, you crack some of their rock-like exterior, but they seem to still be attempting to slither away. They literally only get about 5 feet away from you, just sliding out of your reach. And we are going to go to... since they all chose to move. Griveth, it is your turn. Griveth, make me a perception check.
All right. Let's see what I got. Oh, that's 16.
Okay. Go ahead and take your turn.
All right. I see that Fig is in trouble. She's been grasped. He's been grasped. So I'm going to try to get Fig free. So I'm going to smash on this tentacle with Dawnbringer.
Fig is currently 30 feet in the air.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not going to do that.
But there are three other tentacles wrapping around the room. I know it took me a second. It took me a second to go, wait a minute. You don't have a 30-foot reach.
No, I do not. Okay. So other tentacles are dropped down, like kind of grasping around?
Yeah, the other ones all missed. So they are all by, I think it was Thorgarn, Drown, and Cantriel.
Okay. Of course, I'm going to try to.
Or no,
help
it was
Cantriel
you.
first.
It was you.
Oh,
There's
me,
one right near
okay.
you.
Okay. I'm ignoring that one, and I'm going for the one. So it was Griveth, Drown, and who else?
Not
Thorgarn?
Drown. It was Griveth, Thorgarn, and Cantriel.
Oh, okay. Of course, I'm going to try to help Cantriel first. So I'm running over there.
Griveth.
And
just to be clear, you're not attacking the one that is currently engaged with you.
no.
Okay. What is your armor class?
19.
That means as you turn to run towards the other one, you are struck by one of the tendril that you turned away from.
Okay.
Because a 24 will hit you.
Okay. Yes, definitely.
And it wraps around your legs
Oh.
and begins to pull you up into the air.
Okay.
So you turn to run towards, was it Cantriel?
Yeah.
And then you all just hear this sort of clatter of armor on the ground as Griveth is suddenly slammed prone and then lifted up by his legs into the air. Griveth, you are currently 10 feet up.
Okay. Griveth thinks, whoops.
However, that was just your movement. You do still have your hands free.
All right. I'll cut myself free of this thing. Dawnbringer, find true your mark. And you do. Yay. 27?
Yes.
Okay. So if I attack the tentacle, the damage doesn't, it just goes on the tentacle, right? It doesn't go on the creature. It just severs the tentacle.
I guess you'll find out.
Oh, okay.
There's a difference between what you know and what Griveth knows.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the trouble with these classic monsters.
Right. Good point. I did 11 points of damage to it.
You slash upwards with Dawnbringer. There's an arc of light from Dawnbringer, a shattering sound, and you have severed one of the tendrils. You will take 2 points of bludgeoning damage as you drop down to the stone.
Okay. Can I try to fall to a point where I'm near Cantriel and get my second attack? And
Well,
attack the one
you
that's after her?
technically haven't used any movement, so you'll use half of your movement to get up.
Yeah.
And then you are all relatively close enough in this space that you could still get to Cantriel.
Okay.
You can't really control your fall.
Right. Cantriel
But
hears, Cantriel, I'm coming.
what's your movement? Your movement's probably 30.
Don't
30, yeah.
bother.
Too bad I'm saving you. Okay. So do I well, I wouldn't land on my feet in this. Well,
No, you
how far do I fall?
landed prone. It'll cost you
Okay,
15 feet of movement to get up.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then
I
you can
gotcha.
still you can use the rest of your movement to get to Cantriel and attack
Okay.
the tentacle that is the tendril that is attacking her.
Okay, it was a very long and convoluted move, but he finally gets there. And probably misses. Okay, that was a 14.
Yeah, that is absolutely going to miss.
Okay.
Cantriel, Griveth comes in a jumble of armor, sort of doing that thing where he pulls himself up and sort of shoosh, comes at you, and you just see Dawnbringer past your shoulder just go shoom, and hit nothing.
I have failed you, Cantriel. Forgive me.
Let's see. Let me see where we are in the order. Cantriel, it is your turn.
She's just gonna let out this exasperated, like, oh, for the love of, and just draw her bow and shoot out whatever's closest to, well, not closest.
So
but,
you
know what I mean.
you can attack. I mean, you were still attacking had
Same
previously
one from the
attacked
ceiling.
the roper, the main body of it, and you can still do
Yeah.
that.
Then I'm gonna keep doing that and muttering at the same time, trying to save me and needs to save himself and keeps getting himself. I'm gonna have to turn around and save this one as well, and like just goes into this muttering rant.
I love that Cantriel is a is an elf with the spirit of Gimli. It seems the temperament of Gimli.
You know,
That's why we get along
like
sometimes.
you do.
Right.
She spent
So often.
too long around dwarves.
21.
That will hit.
Oh, my dice were quite nice to me right now. So the Hunter's Mark got a Muse logo. So there's your
Nice.
6. And the D8 just gave me a beautiful 8. And then adding in, so that is going to be 18 for the first shot. Thank you very much, Griveth.
18, you said?
18 piercing for the first shot. Second shot is going to be a crit.
Nice. A crit.
Ooh, we
Okay,
got the
so
crit squeal.
that was, what do we say it was? The last one was an 18 because that was full damage.
Yes, that was full damage. So it'd be 18, and then you re-roll all damage dice.
Okay, re-rolling all damage dice because that was freaking cool.
For those,
Shut
because we have
up.
a lot of new people in the stream tonight, our house rule is crits are automatic max damage. Then you roll your damage dice one more time. Did you roll max again?
On the 1. So that's 10 extra, so 28.
28.
28.
Cantriel, your arrows are either chipping away at the softer stone around this thing's eyes and mouth. And I'll say with that crit that you actually catch the eye
Yes.
and cause it. You can see that it's starting to leak this same as these creatures on the ground, this sort of yellowish greenish ooze as your arrow embeds itself deep in this thing's eye. And you see all around it as stone sort of crumbles off of it.
For fun, let's just say Cantriel made the same squeaking sound I just made when I got the crit.
All right, is that it?
Oh, it was bonus action because I have my bonus action. Let's see here. Fig. She'll turn to Fig and I'm sure you have some sort of magical thing you can do to these things. And she like waggles her fingers in the air.
All right.
That's how she inspires people. The D8 for the dice.
All right. Next up is Thorgarn.
So is the slug crawly thing on the ground still within melee, or did it get out of range?
They just made it just outside of the outside of your reach.
Okay. All right. Well, then I am. Screw it. I will rage and I will throw Forge Fane at the thing on the ceiling. That is going to be a 25 and a natural 1.
Okay. So you do the throw it, it returns, and then you immediately throw it again. Roll damage on the hit.
So that is going to be 12.
Okay. I want you to roll your attack one more time.
How did I know you were going to say that? That is going to be 18.
What's your armor class, Fig?
Oh!
15.
Yeah, with that critical fail, you hit Fig.
Oh.
So roll damage against Fig.
I'm sorry. It's going to be 13.
So Fig, you suddenly get clocked with Thorgarn's hammer. There's an audible ringing metallic sound in this space. Is that your turn, Fig? I know your
Thorgarn,
names.
Yes.
I was going to call you Falmud. That was nowhere near right. Thorgarn.
Does this maybe push you to the point of like being our dad where you combine all of our names together because you just don't know which kid
Oh
you
my
need to yell
God.
at?
Don't put me in the role of being all of your dad.
You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I can't keep your name straight. I'm just going to keep calling you all a combined name. Cantriel Thorgarn drown a gig Griveth. I just looked over and saw Ted shaking with laughter. So if you're done, Thorgarn, then Fig, it is your turn.
I think Talmud looks and just like open mouth gapes at what just happened. Like, what are you doing, Thorgarn? And then he looks at Fig, hit him back.
So Fig is 30 feet up in the air, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Fig turns to Thorgarn. I believe we will have a conversation about this later. And turns back to this thing that's holding him. He can't see the origin of these tentacles, correct? Even from up here?
You can see the origin.
Ooh.
It's coming from the stalagmite or stalactite with the eye and the mouth. They're all sort of emanating from its body. The one that is wrapped around you, you can see where it connects to the thicker part of the base of this stalactite.
So Fig just looks at it and tilts its head. I have never seen one of your kind before. And you see, he takes his one free hand that he has and he smacks his head. And his head, this is all very narrative. He's casting Thunderstep, but I have an idea for a narrative description.
I trust you. Go for it.
Okay. So he smacks his head and his head just falls down and lands onto the ground and kind of rolls away. I imagine it even rolls over to Thorgarn and just looks up, and you immediately hear this cacophonous explosion from Fig's body that has absolutely exploded, and you see from the dust all these small little gears and cogs immediately just rain down onto the ground and almost in a blink of an eye coalesce, just come racing towards his head and just recoalesce, and he stands up beside you, and this thing has to make a Constitution saving throw.
All right, let's see. Constitution saving throw. That is going to be a 19 on the die, which would make that a 22.
I'm going to get you to re-roll that.
All right. Using 2 domain dice, as the audience has been very generous with them. Let's see, that's going to knock you to 119. That new roll is going to be an 18, so it's still a 21. So it will succeed. Is that a half damage on Thunderstep?
Yeah, it'll still take half damage.
Okay. I gotta. You roll that while I figure out the domain dice real quick.
I'm gonna cast it at a 5th level, I think. Then. Yeah, casting 5th level. So. 21 divided by so 10 points. Damage.
All right. And as there's this of thunder, more stones, and even in other places, stalactites rain down from the ceiling. All right, they're all good. I was just going to see if any of the raining stalactites took out the piercers. They did not. Anything else, Fig?
No, that's it.
All right.
Don't forget the glower of Thorgarn. Now that you're next to him. Free action.
The roper is still lashing out with its 3 remaining tendrils. I'm going to grab a Dawnbringer die. D6 again. That's going to be Fig. It's coming after you again. That's going to be a 6. Talmud, one's coming at you. Cantriel is the other one. So let's see what they do. So Fig.
Can I choose to fail a defense?
It's an attempt to hit you. I mean,
just hold still.
I can give it advantage if you're trying to get it grabbed by it.
Works for me.
Cantriel, that's not going to get you. Fig, it was a 11. Cantriel, it was a 15. Does that hit? Does it just hit you? So Cantriel, one of these is whipping around you. Talmud, what's your AC?
15.
With advantage, it got a 14. So it loosely wraps around you, and you look over and you see one wrap around Cantriel, one whips close to Fig. It starts to try to lift you, Talmud, before it fully is wrapped around you. And then you feel the tension release just a little bit as Cantriel begins rising up towards the ceiling. You are grappled, Talmud, but Cantriel, you are being brought up towards its face. It is going to attempt to bite you.
Hold on a second, Jake. Before she gets pulled up into the air, I'm going to do a sentinel attack on the tentacle.
Yeah, because you ran over next to Cantriel, so
Yeah.
just what Cantriel wants is for Griveth to save her.
23 to hit.
That is going to hit.
Oh, come on. Get that number. Oh, that is a 16.
You shatter the tendril, preventing it from pulling Cantriel up.
Griveth has recovered some of his pride.
Talmud, you have this tendril wrapped around your waist, and it extends up towards this roper.
He feels that it kind of started to lift him and then didn't, and then he can see that it started to lift Cantriel before Griveth intervened, and he just kind of looks at this thing and sighs. It's a weight issue? Really? You're going to make this about fat jokes? Fine. He's going to grab a hold of this tentacle with one hand and kind of pull it down as much as he can so it's kind of taut, and then kind of lean back so that his weight's kind of resting in it. And then he's going to switch back to Ghost Cleaver with both hands and kind of spin around his head. And as he's doing so, his tattoos will start to glow up his arm. And his ant is going to appear. The visage of Tildane appears out of his face, kind of projecting forward. That's just rude, dearie. We don't ever discuss someone's weight. And is going to slash at this thing twice.
So you're attacking the tendril?
Yes. And I'm going to reckless attack.
Okay.
Okay. It's 29 on the first one.
That's a hit.
Good. And a 26 on the second.
Also a hit.
Good. All right. So the first is going to be to the tune of 19 points of
Completely
slashing.
shatters the tendril.
Okay. Is there another?
There is a tendril nearby. As you will, because of the way you narratively leaned yourself back, you will fall backwards prone.
That's perfect.
But you also, not too far away from you, there is one last tendril that's had attempted to strike Fig.
So when Talmud falls over, there's kind of oh, there we go. And he kind of like gets up, kind of somewhat embarrassed. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just fine. And he's going to run over and close the distance to the next tentacle and swing at it.
All right.
To the tune of 15 points of slashing.
That will miss.
Oh, did you need another attack?
Well, you have to attack the tendril.
Well, I did attack.
Oh, that's right, you did. Never mind, you hit.
So I assume they have the same armor class?
Yeah. Shatter. Okay. You shatter it.
Okay, sweet.
There are now 4 severed tendrils hanging from the ceiling and just sort of flailing around. And this creature seems to be, though it makes the sound it makes is that of stone grinding against stone. It continues to drip from where Cantriel shot it in the eye. These piercers are still crawling along the ground. And if you're done, Talmud, it is Drown's turn.
All right, so, oh boy, this thing is up on the 30-foot ceiling, so I'm not really going to be able to get it and reach at it. So Drown will hold out his hand, gather that crackling, scintillating, deep green energy, and unleash it in 2 eldritch blasts up at the roper.
All right.
It's a 19 and a 31.
The first blast, you shoot at it, and it seems like it's going right for its eye, and it blinks at the last second, and the blast just ricochets off the stone. Unfortunately, it opens its eye immediately afterwards, and that second blast catches it right in the eye.
All right, so that one's going to take 8 points of force damage in the eyeball, and then I'll conjure one of the spectral watery tentacles out of the ceiling to lash at it as well. And that'll miss.
You've completely blasted this thing's eye out. It's crumbling in ruins, and you notice now that it's just beginning to move. For the first time ever, you're seeing what appears to be, what for all intents and purposes looks like a stalactite shifting across the ceiling. Its tendrils flailing and pulling in towards itself. I would like everybody to make a perception check. And go ahead and just call it out.
I am raging. Would this be at advantage, disadvantage, or just straight?
I think for the purposes of what this is, it's just going to be straight.
9.
You got 23.
6.
20 here.
Drown, you were muted.
Nope. I said the wrong number anyway. 12.
And Cantriel?
16.
Everybody but Fig actually sees this. Even whichever one of you that got a 9. You actually see it, perhaps because it wants to be seen. As you notice shadow moving behind the stalactites where the roper was moving along the ceiling, you see a shifting of a huge form. At first it looks like a stalactite falling, and then you see a very long form shift. It's curling. Something is hanging from the ceiling from another stalactite. And as it's dropping into view, you see first 1, then 2, then 3. And as it fully drops to the ground, you see a total of 6 sets of legs. Its serpentine form striking the ground. And I know Cantriel will understand it. I don't recall if anybody else speaks Draconic. So, Cantriel, you may be the only one that hears in Draconic. It will rip, it will tear, it will burn and break and devour. And shooting toward where Cantriel, Griveth, and I'm gonna say it'll probably be Cantriel and Griveth. I'm thinking of where everybody moved to. Talmud was over by Fig. Fig was also by Thorgarn. So I think it's going to be Talmud. My children. Cantriel and drown. Call you Crown. Gosh. It's a good thing we're just about done for the night.
Put down the drink, Jake.
I've been drinking coffee
You
and
totally
water.
become the DM dad.
As you hear this, Cantriel, rip and tear and burn and destroy and devour. You hear, all of you feel the hair on your on the backs of your neck and your arms rise as you feel a static charge in the air. The creature rises, opens its mouth, and a line of lightning shoots from its mouth at Cantriel and Talmud. And I need each of you to make a dexterity saving throw. And I'm just going to be over here rolling a whole bunch of d10s.
So I saw it coming, so I should get danger sense.
It's not attacking you.
Oh, you called my name on the last.
Did I?
You said, yeah, you
Yes.
said Cantriel and Talmud.
You did.
Sorry, I meant Griveth.
Oh,
I got all my
sorry.
kids mixed up. You guys
Sorry, Scotty.
See?
quit moving around.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
17.
And Griveth?
19.
1, 2. All right, so
Tonight.
God, he
a
rolled
seven-
higher than me.
17 and a 19.
I have a +1 dexterity bonus.
So you did both succeed. So you will take half of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I gotta have another d10.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I'm counting dice, not damage right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How do I have 11 d10s out?
Stop. Dad.
All right, so yes, I'm gonna roll 12 d10. I need to roll this in my tray. All right, so that's 10, 14, 23, 30, 36, 41, 51, 60, 69, 74, 80, 85. Cantriel and Griveth, you are each going to take 40. What did I say it was? 85? You'll each take 43 points of lightning damage. As this electrical energy, and it continues past them. I imagine kind of moving between Drown and where the other three are, just missing you. You feel the air charge. You see the lightning arcing into the water, and it strikes the wall on the far side of this chamber, illuminating the entire area. And you see this creature, this huge creature, with its 6 sets of legs, its long serpentine tail, as it's curled up, and 2 of its claws are raised up, its mouth open, electricity playing across its face. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Be sure to be here next week.
When we
Got it
won't
out
be playing
before.
this.
Where you can see
Unofficially,
the exciting conclusion. Oh wait, no, you won't.
unofficially, this Behir's name is Behir Arthur.
Oh,
Oh man,
That is
Jake.
a holdover joke from one of V's live crafting streams. Because what was yours called?
Oh God.
It was a really
Something-
fun name too, because if you look at the WizKids mini, and the artwork, it looks like it's sort of holding its hands up like it's knitting or something.
Looks like it's like,
And so yeah, there were some great jokes during one of V's live streams.
why can't I remember?
And I have a Behir Arthur that I will be painting at some point. But yeah, we are going to end in the, you thought it was just piercers and a roper. That Behir was there the whole time.
Evil.
So we will pick that up in 2 weeks, and here's why. The Dawnbringers will be here next week. all next week, starting at noon on Sunday, going until midnight, and then doing it again on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. It is all Dungeons and Dragons all day right here on twitch.tv/miniterrain domain for Jasper's Game Week. Thank you to all of the thread raiders that came by. You may notice that there are a ton of mods in the chat. The thread raiders are partnering with us for Jasper's Game Week and have generously volunteered quite a bit of their people to be moderators during the stream, and we so appreciate that. Goblin Katie was here, is playing in a game this week, I believe on Sunday. So thank you all for showing so much love with the subscriptions and the gift subscriptions and the bits. Of course, all of that, we appreciate that, and it does all go to benefit the channel to help us continue to make awesome stuff like this, and to partner with Jaspers. There's just so many great people and games that are taking place. Head over to jaspersgameday.com. The schedule is up. You can see who all of the dungeon masters are, who all of the players are. There's going to be a lot of D&D 5th edition. I know there's at least one first edition being run by Stefan Picorni. D Beachy just dropped you guys a couple more domain dice with that cheer. Much thanks for that. I will get that added in here before we go off. So you guys are at 119. That'll put you back up to 121. Don't want to forget those. I will be here all next week behind the scenes. You'll see me before every game, along with Fenway and Dwight the Big Bearded Nerd will be joining me. He's on our team, as well as several other people. We will be popping in between, but I will be behind the scenes all week long producing the stream with an amazing team of moderators that'll be helping out. Lots of great prizes as we reach certain goals. There's tons of incentives as you donate certain amounts that you'll be through the donation interface. You'll be able to increase your chances of getting different things, kind of like when you donate to like NPR and you can get a Nina Toten bag, or something like that. And Goblin Katie's making sure you have another domain die there. I love these bits coming in at the last minute. And domain dice will be there all next week. They will be at a higher price point because we're using them for fundraising. But ask Dan. Dan and his crew last year, they finished up the whole week with a game of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which was actually when that module first came out. And I think it was was it you had Gil in your game, didn't you?
No, it wasn't Gil. He was on a different one.
Oh, that's right. But it was B Dave Walters.
Yeah, I had B Dave, Kelly. Yeah.
And B Dave was like, I'm going to use a domain dice. I'm going to use a domain dice. I'm going to use a domain dice. And sort of set the precedent of just let's burn them. But we also raised a lot of money with just domain dice in that game. But here's what's awesome for all of you that stuck around for the Dawnbringers tonight. Of course, we are here every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But next week, the Dawnbringers are here. We are closing out the stream. They are going to be playing all of their same characters with a twist. And since you all stuck around, I'll tell you what it is. We are going to be playing a custom module that I have created called like right now, it's called Magical Miracle Beard Oil. And it is a Western themed game of D&D. So everything will be flavored very Western like. And we are, for the purposes of this one shot, we're going to go ahead and set it in Jeremy's homebrew world of Caldera, which is a Western setting that he has created, which you can see games run over in on Erasmus Expeditions on YouTube that he's run in Caldera. But yeah, next week is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we get to close it out with the Dawnbringers, with this crew, and get to play in a fun. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. make sure you're coming with your plans to be silly, because it's going to be ridiculous. Unless you can magically flip a switch and turn my silly beard game into like a super serious, heartbreaking, tear-wrenching Western, that would be amazing too. So I guess we'll see.
Accepted.
We'll see what happens. I never know what I'm gonna get with these kids, whose names I can't even keep straight. So I do want to say again, just a huge thank you to everybody that came in tonight. I love seeing everybody in the chat, and seeing all that interactivity and all that stuff. And we invite you to come back, keep coming back and hanging out with us every week. And of course, just the hugest and warmest thank you. I was having a crummy week and a crummy day, and I forgot all about that once we started playing, and once I started playing with these amazing people, some of my closest friends. So huge thank you to Scotty, Dan, V, M, Ted, and Jeremy, without whom it would just be me sitting here for 3 hours talking to myself. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
Y'all come back now here.